Once again, it's on. This is the Relationship Rehab. I'm your boy, Brian Redmond, and have you ever been so clean that it just changes how you do just the simplest things? Like, just so clean that even when you like just pick up a glass, you have your pinky up. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying. It's just certain things just happen and you don't know why they're happening, but you just that clean, you just gotta do that. But that's neither here nor there. What I wanted to talk about today was actually something that I've heard before. I've heard a few times, and actually somebody asked me about it. And I said, well, I don't think I've talked about that, so let me do that. So I want to talk about the phrase or the statement that some people have heard called, or when people hear the words, hurt people, and like, what does that really like mean? So basically what I wanted to do was just say, you know, when you say hurt people, it's basically saying that if someone is hurt or has a traumatic life experience, whether they are like abused as a child or they have sexual assault, you know, those type of things, then they usually will have a tendency to execute that same behavior to somebody else or those that are closest to them, or some other type of I guess negative behavior in some or act out in some other type of way, and they usually do that with those that they are either typically close to or those that they are most intimate with. So when you're talking about things like rape, when you're talking about and especially for well, men and women, because a lot of people actually don't talk about that. You know, the abuse that happens and sexual abuse and things like that happen with women, it's definitely prevalent, but it's also as prevalent as it is with men. There are men that are sexually abused, that are raped, and those type of things, and it does happen. We tend not to really talk about it as much, just because of the whole the man thing and manhood and things like that, because it's such a vulnerable thing that happens to you. Men aren't supposed to be vulnerable in our society, in a sense, or you're not a real man if something like that happens to you, but it definitely does happen. And for women the same, and usually when something like that does happen at a young age, they tend to have a promiscuous lifestyle or some type of alternative lifestyle to where sex is a lot more careless, and they're a lot more carefree with sex, or they don't take it as personal as it should be taken. It's an intimate experience, and usually when they have some type of sexual trauma that happens to them, they tend to throw that away to the wayside and just tend to treat sex as just an act, or they are oversexed, or they are extremely promiscuous and those type of things. So like when you're talking about streetwalkers, hookers or prostitutes, whatever the case may be, a lot of them most of the time have been people that have been abused, people that have been sexually abused, people that have been raped, and those type of things. And so it tends to breed a culture of because they've been hurt so bad that they tend to foster and they begin to nurture and reproduce that hurt, whether it's to their siblings, whether it's to other children, whether it's to other people and things like that. They tend to do that, and they tend to hurt those people because they themselves have been hurt, and they haven't gone through the process once they've been hurt of actually healing that hurt by going through it. A lot of us, like I've talked about in a previous segment, about not trying to always don't get over hurt, but actually go through hurt. Because once you can go through hurt, then you can actually move past it. If you try to go over it, it's still going to be an obstacle that's going to be in your life, and you're going to keep coming around to that obstacle. So when you hear the phrase hurt people, it's just that. And as something that I learned a lot later in life as I got older, we tend to focus on those people that hurt us, and we tend to, because it's that immediate danger, it's that immediate abuse, or whatever the case may be, of that traumatic experience that you have with those people that are closest to you. But a lot of times we don't tend to look at why those people are the way that they are, and how they, how their childhood was. So when you talking about things like a parent that's abusive, whether they beat their kids and they are physically abusive, things like that, you wonder why they're such a bad person and they done such bad things and how could they do this. You have to sometimes ask that question as to what was their childhood like, how were they raised, did they have a similar experience? Because sometimes too we tend to, if you do things long enough, good or bad, a bad habit becomes, you nurture it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it to where it becomes normal. And once it becomes normal, then it becomes a part of your culture and you can rationalize it. You say, well, my parents did it to me, or my mom did me that way, or my dad did me that way, and it's like once you do that, then you're fostering that behavior and it becomes a culture and it becomes a way of life. It's just like sometimes you'll see people who say, well, that's just what we do in our family. And whether it could be a bad thing, but they've gotten so used to it because nobody has tried to break that cycle, that they have fostered it and nurtured it to where it's become second nature. And they begin to rationalize and say it's okay to do that and it's all right because that's just how it was. And that's something that you need to realize, that hurt people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of the things that I guess you can do to, I guess, get around that, or to circumvent that, if you will, is get to know the people that you are with before you go deeper into relationship with them, whether it's being intimate, whether it's calling them your best friend, whether it's exposing them to your children, whether it's just being around people, or putting yourself in a vulnerable position. You meet a guy and he seems to be just this great guy, you have such a good time and you want to go, you've been to lunch and stuff like that. Don't just be so quick because of your infatuation to put yourself in a position where you're alone with this person, or put yourself in a position to where it's just you and this person and something could happen to where you can't get, or put yourself in a situation that you can't get yourself out of. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of times too, even when you go on dates and you're dating and stuff, have a buddy system and say, hey, I'm gonna be here with this guy, or I'm gonna be here with this girl, whatever the case may be, because there are awesome setup chicks out there. But when you have that buddy system, have that one person or those two people, whatever, that you say, hey, call me every 15 minutes or text me every 15 minutes, text me every hour, whatever the case may be. If you haven't heard from me, I'm here and I was with this person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, have that set up because you never know what can happen, But get to know the people that you're with before you get intimate with them. Get to know their family history. Ask those questions. What was it like growing up? What was your mama like? What was your daddy like? Where was your mama at? Where was your daddy at? How are your aunties and things like that? Because you can get those telltale signs if they're not, 100% transparent with you, or if they kind of don't want to answer that, or they just tell you some cliche answer, oh, it was all good, all was straight. It's like those are the telltale or the warning signs that where if they're not willing to go deeper into it, you never know what could have happened or what could be there that could have been some type of traumatic experience that could have happened. So I guess another point too is, we all have our stuff. We all have our problems. We all have our issues and things like that, and our bad experiences and all that kind of stuff. But just because you're with somebody, it doesn't make you their cure, and it doesn't make you their doctor. Whatever may be wrong with them, and they trust you and can confide in you and those type of things, that doesn't mean that you are necessarily their doctor and that you're their healer. You're supposed to be the one that heals them. No, that is not your job. So it's like that, those things that may be going on with somebody, or those things that have happened to somebody and they're trying to work through them, it's okay to go through that journey with them and to walk with them, but you're not the doctor, and you're not the person that's to heal them or cure them. Just because they, you can say, hey, that person says, oh man, when I'm with you, I feel so much better. You make me a better person. That's great. But I'm not the person who heals you or who helps you, takes away your hurt. I'm not that person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I can help you and make you happy. I can help you in your journey, but I'm not your healer, not your doctor, especially when it comes to those traumatic experiences like we were talking about before, with rape and sexual abuse, physical abuse, kids that are beaten severely and things like that. Those things need to be worked out by a psychiatrist, by a doctor that can help them get through that. You are not their healer, right? Keep that in mind. So it's like it, and also too, I guess I can say it's okay to walk with somebody And it's okay to help somebody in their journey as long as it's not causing you to limp, as long as they're not pulling you down to where you can't walk and you're stumbling and you're falling. Because at the end of the day, if you're drowning and I dive in to try to save you, you know, and if because you don't know how to swim, you're fighting to the point to where you can drown me if I don't know how to handle you underwater. And that's definitely something that you learn as being a lifeguard. Lifeguards know this. If I dive in after you and you're drowning and I'm trying to save you, at some point, if you can't submit and let me save you, and I'm not equipped to be able to subdue you or to bring you back up, then I can't save you. Because if I keep trying to, I will die myself. So it's like you want to get somebody who's qualified as a lifeguard to get down there and help somebody who's drowning. Now, somebody who's just in the water and they just need help getting out, you can get a tow line, you know, and you can help pull them out. But if I'm drowning and I'm not equipped as a lifeguard to be able to go down and know how to subdue, you know, somebody who's drowning, to get them back up and to bring them above water, don't you go in and put yourself in a situation where you can't get yourself out of. If you can just jump in the water and hold on to the side and, you know, reach them that way, good. You still got something that can help you get out, right? But just diving in head first and you don't know or don't have the technique to get that hurt person back up and to build that hurt person back up, don't do that to the point to where you're dragged down to. So I hope that this helps somebody. I hope that this brings some understanding to somebody so that, hey, at the end of the day, they can become and we can become better versions of ourselves so that we can what? Change the world. That's right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for showing the love. Keep liking, keep sharing, keep smiling, keep shining. No, you can always count on. All right, whatever. But that's what friends are for. Yep, you got it. But thank you guys, and I love you, and I'm out.